You are listening to the Wholesome Way podcast, hosted by Alexander Lobb. Please keep in mind, everything shared in this podcast is for inspiration only and shouldn't be taken as medical or professional health advice. If you're making changes to your health routines or lifestyle, please check in with our qualified health professional first. This episode will begin in 30 to 60 seconds. During that time, you're going to hear a few words from two of our very generous sponsors of the show with some pretty awesome offers. So listen to this. And now, on with the episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Wholesome Way podcast. Today, we are talking everything emotional management with a guest on our podcast. I'm pleased to be welcoming Sophie Malahieude to the podcast today. Sophie is an emotional balance coach who blends life coaching, yoga, Ayurveda, mindfulness, and lived experience to help people move from emotional overwhelm to grounded presence, clarity, and confidence. Sophie is also an author, having published her book, A Loving Home, Yogic, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, the yogic
Yogic Wisdom for Happy Family, and her upcoming book to be released this month titled Beyond Emotions. Sophie, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be with you.
Likewise. Yeah, I just want to say, I truly appreciated your message when you reached out when we first connected about coming on the podcast, and your words were very kind and thoughtful, which is sometimes rare to come by these days, genuine connection online. So yeah, I just want to say I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to aligning our messages today in this episode.
Yes, me too.
Fantastic. Well, Sophie, tell us a bit about your journey and what happened in 1997.
So in 1997, I moved from France to Germany. I was married for 3 years, and I was going to rebuild a life in a foreign country with a language that I didn't speak yet. And I was fortunate to meet the colleague of my husband, who was a yoga teacher in the evening. And I had tried yoga before. A year before, I was in France, and there was this new class at the recreation center of my city. It was written just yoga. Okay, I was curious because it was a blend of philosophy and practice, and I was very curious to help quiet my mind that I knew that was very all over the place. I had a very interesting experience in France practicing yoga. It was in 1996. I went to the class, and the teacher didn't want me there because I was too young and it would not be for me. So I said, well, you know what? I made all this way to come to your class, and I would like still to try. So I tried the class, and my first yoga encounter in France was surprising. It was I find it challenging to quiet the mind, even if the movement were not difficult. I find it was a challenge for me to be in the present, as the teacher was saying. So by the end of the class, I said to him, I understand it's challenging, but I think there is something there. I would like to come back. And he said, no, you cannot come back. You cannot come back because I saw you. You are all over the place. Your mind is very busy, and see that very older people who are more quiet. So I don't want you back in the class. I went back home, very sad. But all changed when 1 year later, in 97, we moved to Germany, and the colleague of my husband invited me in his evening class. The first time I went into his class, I didn't speak very well English, German. So I was unable to understand everything what he was saying. So I had my eyes wide open and just practicing what I was seeing. And I felt really at home. I feel that it was quiet. Remember that it was in 97. Yeah, it's almost 30 years. There were no music, there was no props, no mat, no nothing. We just had a little towel in a room without distraction, practicing in silence with the voice of the teacher. I said, oh my God, I am just home. And I remember thinking at that time, I have to share that with the world. It's absolutely wonderful. Even I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand the word he was saying. And at some point during the class, he saw me that I was struggling. And he came to me and he said to me, Sophie, it's okay. You don't understand everything. Practice from your heart. I said, okay, I can do that. And it was my first encounter with yoga, which really helped me to shape my entire life and every challenge I met through my life, every move I made. Everything is coming back home with the practice of yoga.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah, I found it so profound when I read that you used the word like coming back home, even though you're in a completely foreign, alien place, surrounded by different people, different language, in a new building you've never been in before. Like that's quite amazing that you use the word home, because it just speaks to the true essence of these practices that you've been practicing for so long, which is, yoga, mindfulness, and that this practice, no matter where you are, it transcends cultural difference, language, appearance, country of birth, everything. Like it's all connecting back to source, and that everyone is connected to. And so I love how truly profound that is, that you could come to that realization in a completely foreign place.
Yeah. I think I was looking for, I didn't know at that time, I didn't have word for it, but I was looking for the connection of the body, the mind, the spirit. When we feel whole, I love the name of your podcast, The Wholesome Way, because it's really about that, feeling whole. We can face adversity if we are strong in our shoes. Work to take one step after the other to move through the challenging. So it's what yoga represents for me.
No, yeah, spot on. I love it. So talk to me a bit about the different modalities that you've learned over the years, because I know it's not just yoga, and talk to me about what's the name? I don't know if I can pronounce it right. Maybe you can help me.
Yes.
Ayurveda.
Absolutely, and you say it properly. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. And the Vedic therapy and how you combined those two. Talk to me a bit about that. Yeah.
Yes. So as we know, yoga is coming from India, very ancient tradition. Yoga it was taught from a guru to a student, to a disciple. Now, in parallel, if we can say, in parallel of yoga, there is Ayurveda. So, very quickly, yoga is a word that means union. The way I explain yoga is that it's a methodology for me to become a better person. In parallel, I learned about Ayurveda, which is also coming from India. And Ayurveda is two words, Ayur and Veda. Ayur is life, and Veda, knowledge, the knowledge of life. And Ayurveda helped me to understand what I am made of. It helped me to understand my temper, my biology, my physiology. how I can adjust what I eat, the way I exercise, the way I think, to be on the optimal phase of my life, which merge with yoga, that through Ayurveda and yoga, you are to reach enlightenment. I'm not there yet.
It's a lifelong path.
but it really helps us to move in the direction. It's good to have a methodology to become a better person. But when we match it with what we are made of and how we can adjust our lifestyle to live longer, it gives us more opportunity to become enlightened, to really reach this wholeness that makes us happy, love everyone on earth, and carry on and supporting everyone, and connection. Because it's about connection at the end of the day, love and connection. It might feel cliche, and at the same time, it's what carry on life. So when I was introduced to yoga, I was lucky that my teacher introduced me also to the science of life, to Ayurveda, and I made personal study on Ayurveda. Quickly, I was a little discouraged because it's a lot to learn about Ayurveda. Ayurveda, at the end, is really basic and simple tools you can use. But in between, being alone with just books, it felt for me overwhelming. So at some point, I just let the Ayurveda on the side. So when I moved to United States in 2003, I took my first yoga teacher training, and then I was reintroduced to Ayurveda, and then there's something here there. And then I kept studying. I'm going to zap some years, and then until I did something what is called yoga therapy in a Vedic approach. Now, just to put everything in perspective of yoga and Ayurveda, there is a tradition in India, very, very old tradition, maybe 10,000 years old, that is called the Vedic tradition. And the Vedic tradition, with the old text, there is a science of yoga and there is a science of Ayurveda. And when I met those teachers that they were calling yoga therapy, it was really for us to see an individual, to establish the lifestyle, the diet, the type of exercise that are going to help them to move in the direction they want. And when I met them, so it was, I don't know, in 2007, 2008, then I went back to the basis and I took training in Ayurveda. And it really, I think that yoga or Ayurveda, it's not it's a specific diet or it's a specific type of practices or exercising. It's really, it shapes your way you see life. It shapes your way that you move with the season. In winter, you eat roots. You want to have soup. You want to have hot spices to complement the needs of your body. When you move spring, it's time to detox. In spring, you want just to open the windows and clean your entire house, and you have to change the bedding because you don't need so warm blanket or whatever. You have to switch from the winter clothes to the summer clothes. So in spring, it's about detox. Guess what? Nature is right here to support us. In spring, what do we have? Everything that is leafy, the lettuce and the arugula and the kale and everything that's cilantro, parsley, all that is coming in spring. And they have a purpose. The purpose is to support us in the cleansing of the body and the mind. And then comes summer. What in summer, there is a lot of heat outside. So we need to cool down our system so we can stay grounded. In the summer, what do we have? We have all those juicy fruit. What do they bring? Coolness in the body.
Mm.
And I discovered this wonderful connection with nature through Ayurveda. So we can say that I am an Ayurveda practitioner. Maybe. I think that Ayurveda is a way of living. I think that yoga is a way of living. Ayurveda, since we want to move with the season and according also to our own season in life, if we are younger or a little older or eyes of wisdom, it helps us to adapt. For example, when it's very hot outside, it's not the time to go for a run. It's probably a time to slow down, to have maybe a walk or just have a meditative practice at home. And when it's cold outside, so we want to bring a little more heat in the body, have a more dynamic practice. And again, we always come back to, I say that to you and you say, yeah, it does make sense. It's common sense. And yet we don't necessarily think of it. So it's about yoga and Ayurveda. And as I kept learning about all those knowledge, which is coming from the Vedic tradition, then I was very curious about how do I adjust this very old knowledge in my modern life? How can I transfer this knowledge to people where we are in the world of science and proof and and testing? And there is something that is wonderful. It's called MBSR, mindfulness, stress-based release, whatever, all the word. And it combined all those practices of yoga and science and mindfulness. And so that was my link for me to help and share this knowledge with all the people around me. So I try to be as down to earth as possible. Probably because I'm very down to earth. And then I can transmit this knowledge to everyone around me. Yeah. Yeah. So that was the main lead for me. This curiosity of wholeness. And there is one key in these all practices of yoga, Ayurveda, mindfulness that I had a little missing key. It was my emotions. Because yoga or Ayurveda, they are teaching us that we want to be steady. We don't want to be too excited, but we don't want to be lethargic. We want to be always receiving experience in life and then processing them and let them go. Well, sometimes emotions are so strong that we don't know what to do with that. And so they get stuck or stored in the body and can be anywhere. And I became curious to understand the emotions the way I was understanding the digestive system. Because in life, we receive an experience as we receive food, and we taste it, and then we digest it with extraction of what is going to nourish the body and what is not going to serve the body, and then we move, and then we eliminate. And I was thinking, oh my God, that's exactly the same thing with emotions. Except that we have a tendency to bypass them. Thinking, okay, well, I'm very angry with you. I cannot tell you that because it's not proper to tell you that I am angry with you. Okay, so let's put a lid on it and move on. Except that the emotion doesn't move on. Because emotion, like everything else, is energy. Food is energy. Experience is energy. Emotion is energy. Energy is meant to circulate. When energy is stagnant, it becomes toxin. So when we have food that is hard to process, very easy example, junk food, there is so many chemicals and preservative that when you eat such food, your body has a hard time to break it down. So it takes a very long time. As it takes a very long time to break down, to sort whatever could nourish the body and eliminate the rest, it builds toxin in the body. How toxin appears in the body, it starts with tightness, feeling sluggish, with a liver that is overworking over and over, that it can become something that could become a health issue. So what is true with food that is hard to process? Well, think of our emotion, unprocessed emotion, unexperienced as junk food. That makes us think, right?
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, there's something to be said about, I think, behind what you said about mimicking nature, like connecting to nature and connecting with the seasons. And when you think about that, like, yes, we recognize that, okay, it's winter now, it's cold, it's summer, it's getting hot now, but we sort of see the seasons as separate from ourselves. And I think that's what you're alluding to, is the problem, is that we are not looking at the signs. You mentioned, kale and irregular, like sprouting from the ground, like that's for you. Like that's made for you. And there was something really interesting about that I heard about when you have your own garden and you become self-sufficient, and when you start working on the land, you and you're creating the soil, you're harvesting, you're looking after it. The ground and the plants and what you're eating starts to boost its energy, its levels of certain nutrients that it knows you are lacking, which I found very interesting. So, and that corroborates, with what you were saying about how you're meant to follow the seasons and, be in touch and connect with nature, which is another, funnily enough, well, not really funnily enough, it's kind of easy to see. It's been a very common theme on the podcast with other guests, is coming back to nature. And that's the whole idea of, as you said, being whole. Yeah, so I love that. I'd love to just pick your brain a little bit on the emotional side, because that is really something that I think is hard to process for people, is the emotion side. It's very easy to look at the etymology of the word and see emotion, energy in motion. Like, it's very easy to see that objectively, but I'd love to pick your brain a little bit on how the emotions are the same as, you mentioned food, and what that sort of looks like in terms of, processing that emotion, because it seems like we have to do more proactively for our emotions than our body does for digesting food, for example, because that's kind of automatic. We can help that digestion process by, drinking apple cider vinegar when we're, eating meat that's really heavy, or, I learned the other day, putting pepper on something activates, as soon as it hits your tongue, it activates the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, which allows you to break down the food easily. So yeah, tell me a bit about, first of all, in your experience, why we need to be more proactive and, kind of switch off the autopilot and take the wheel in processing those emotions?
Yeah, first, what we have to replace the way we are dealing with emotion is that it's a effect of the society and the culture we are in. And it depends from one country to another and one family to another family. For example, as I grew up, I never saw my parents crying. So if I was sad, I was thinking that, well, when I will be a adult, I will not cry anymore because I will not suffer anymore. So I learned not to cry. It doesn't mean that I was not I was processing my emotion. It was just that I was suppressing them. Okay, so let me give you an example of how we can process an emotion and when we are not processing an emotion. And it's, as you mentioned earlier, I love that we need to be proactive. We need to be proactive with our emotion. There is nothing wrong with emotion. There are messages that we have to understand. Emotion, I like to compare emotion with, if you see fire is just fire, it's burning. Now, with our experience, maybe we like the fire because it helped to warm the food, or maybe we don't like fire because we burn ourselves one day. But interesting, oh, is that a word? Anyway, but at the root, fire is only fire. It depends on how we manage the fire, that it's become something that we want or we don't want. Emotion, they are emotion. They are here to do a job. It's up to us to listen to them or not. Now, society said, don't listen to them. Just put a lid on it and move on. What I think is that we can process emotion proactively in different ways. So let's take an example, very simple. You go to the grocery store and you have to go and pay for the groceries, and you say hello and thank you, and I give a little smile to the cashier, and the cashier doesn't smile back. Okay. The fact is, okay, the person didn't smile back. But now the mind can go and spiral. Okay. One option, well, this person might have a bad day. It's okay, move on. So the emotion of, rejection or whatever come through your body and leave your body, and you go on with your day. Now, if you think you go back into your car with your groceries, oh, well, the cashier that didn't smile me back. Maybe there's something wrong with me. What did I say? What? And so we make a big deal of a story that we are creating in our mind. We have absolutely no idea the reason that the cashier was not smiling back. So that creates an emotion and a feeling in your body, in a feeling of rejection, or a feeling of humiliation, or abandonment, whatever. And then it's there. And it's there anywhere in your body because it's energy. And energy that is not moving gets stuck somewhere. So just to explain how the mind process or not process the experience, because at the end of the day, an emotion is an experience. I can be sad, I can be angry, I can be fearful. So we have just to observe that. Now, let's come back to the idea, I want to be proactive. So first, it's a little long, but I'm just trying to simplify there. I always think that the mind is ready to tell a story. If we want to avoid story and create stagnation in the emotion, always come back in the present moment with the information we know. I smiled to the cashier did smile back. End of it. Is it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? It might be neutral. It can be unpleasant. Okay, it's unpleasant. The person didn't smile back. I don't know why. And it's okay. And I move on. Right? So I would say that the first step to be proactive is coming back to the present moment and making my own decision of what I want to do with the experience based on what I know. Because I have absolutely no idea why the person didn't smile back. Maybe they have a bad day. Maybe they have a illness. Maybe, so they are dealing with their own life. So I don't take it personally.
Yeah, I was going to say that it comes back to that lesson that we taught all the time is like, don't take this personally.
Yeah.
But I think the mind tricks us because we do take it personally, because the words "take personally" is in there. So maybe we need to come up with something else.
Yeah.
Something that's more
Yeah.
that doesn't
Oh,
have those words in it, because words are so powerful, as we know. Like,
absolutely. So
is it something that you've come up with, like a phrase?
yeah, one of my yoga teachers used to say, we are not the center of the world.
Mm.
We are all interacting with each other. And everything is bigger than us. And what I like to remember when I start to take things personally, I see myself, tiny little people on Earth, inside the galaxy, inside the universe. And oh boy, okay, I'm not going to make the center of the world, of the universe, that the person didn't smile back at me. And it really helped me to see things in perspective. That is that, do I need to be angry? Is it going to serve my life to be angry right here, right now? And so I think that we can develop such technique over time when we decide to work on the big stuff. Now, it's where everything come together: yoga, Ayurveda, mindfulness, and my understanding of moving beyond the emotions. It's since I see emotion as energy, like, everything is made of energy. Even scientists say that if you go deeper into a cell, there is a spark of life. It's energy. How does this energy grow? Well, through the breath, through mindfulness. So it's how it grows and expands, and more it grows and it expands, the more vitality and the more health we gain. Now, this little spark of life inside our body, right? So there is an emotion coming on the top of it, and so we don't know what to do with it, so we keep it there. How we move energy? For me, the two first tools that I like to teach and share with people around me: movement, breathing. First, when you have a boo-boo, the first thing you do is that you rub your skin just to let circulate, to, maybe there's a pain sensor on the top of your skin. So you just rub gently your skin, and so there is more life moving back, and then the pain disappears. But that's the same thing with our emotion. If we do movement, if we do breath work, or pranayama in yoga, so if we do those breathing exercise, it helps the energy just to move through us and move away. Then we are ready to do the self-inquiry. This emotion was triggered by what is beneath? What is beneath my anger? What is beneath my sadness? What I am afraid of? And it's surprising what is coming up. I think that I started really to dive deep down in the emotion when I lost my mom a little more than 9 years ago. I was a yoga teacher for so long, so I knew how to deal with hard stuff. What I thought. And then 4 months after she was passing, I met my mentor and yoga teacher. And I tell her, I'm processing and I'm grieving my mom. I think it's fine. Well, there is some things though. When I go up the stairs, I am out of breath. And there is nothing wrong with me because I did a checkup at the doctor and he said that everything was fine with me. But nevertheless, if I do a little something and I am out of breath. And she looked at me and she was silent and she had a little smile and she said, Sophie, you know that we hold grief in the lungs. And I said to her, oh, I know that because I studied it. I didn't realize it.
Wow.
And I was driving back home when I was driving. I said, okay, Sophie, you have really something to do because you think that you are grieving okay. You are not grieving okay at all. So I did different modality. I went to see an energy healer who was circulating the energy in my chest, and it helps. And then it's how I got more into something that's called grief yoga, which is a practice with a lot of breathing exercise and movement. And what you do in grief yoga is that you are circulating the energy, the emotions through your body until you come to the place of self-inquiry. And the thing that I was bypassing the grieving of my mother is that every time I was thinking to my mom, my first emotion was anger. And I was thinking, how can I be angry with my mother? It's so wrong. So I blame myself to have such an emotion. But remember, emotions are messages. They are not something to be fixed. So I think, okay, I'm just going to explore that anger. So I was every single day doing the movement, doing the breathing exercise, doing the guided meditation, doing the personal inquiry. And I was removing one layer after one layer and after one layer. And one day I realized what was going on with me, and I was crying alone, sitting in my living room in the practice, as I realized that actually I was not angry at my mother. I was angry at myself. I was angry at myself because I had missed opportunity to stand up and say to my mom, look at me, how proud I am of being a mother of 2 children living in the United States, being a yoga teacher. I am proud of myself, and I am proud of myself not wearing makeup and having fancy clothes because it's who I am. Actually, I was thinking that my mother wanted me to be a certain way. So I tried to fit, to please her, without understanding if it's really what she wanted to. So I carried this heaviness in the past 5 years of her life, where, here we go. So when I found that out, I said, oh my God, such the heaviness that I was carrying on my chest just went out. So between the day that my mentor talked to me about the grief that we hold in the chest to the day I felt really more freedom, it was a couple of months. So I was surprised that it was pretty quick. But then there is still the reconciliation with the spirit of my mother, and that I tried everything, guys. So I did some Reiki with a friend.
I've done Reiki.
Yeah, okay. And so the Reiki was to feel the energy and send it to my mom. And every time I was doing that, every time there was something changing in my body. So, yeah, I talk about that in my book, is that 6 months before my mother passed away, we just learned from the doctor that she had a brain tumor, and that they would try to make surgery and radiation and all the protocol, but there were not much hope. And so I flew to France, stay with my mom and dad for 2 weeks. And when I flew back, it has been such a shock, because my mother was a brilliant mind, really creative, wonderful woman. So seeing that she had a brain tumor, it really shocked me. And so 2 weeks after I visited them in France, I come back in France and I do a regular breast checkup, and I felt a little cyst. So I didn't understand what the cyst was. So I went and did the mammogram, the ultrasound, and visit to the doctor. And apparently it was a non-invasive cyst that we can build. What I learned later is that the body, when it doesn't process something, can build funny stuff like cysts anywhere in the body. And since, it's related to my mother, the feminine part, what it was in my breast, but it can be anywhere. And so every time I was doing such modality to help to me process the emotion of losing my mother, and the anger and the sadness and the fear, because one of the fear was, who was I? I was not a daughter of a mother anymore. So it was a journey for me to say, hey, you know what? If you stumble, mom is not going to be here. Okay, Sophie, back on your feet, chop, chop. I was going to do that myself. Well, I still have my dad, but the relationship with the mother and a father is different. So I had all those fear, all those, I don't know, anxiety. And every time I was moving through the process of moving my body, the breath, the self-inquiry, every time the tiny cyst becomes smaller and smaller and smaller.
Really?
And, yeah. And the funny part, and it's so for me, I don't know, it's magic for me. When we moved to Florida 2 years ago, and I was still processing all those emotions. And so now I had all this free time because I had to rebuild my life in Florida. So I had to find yoga studio and move some activity online. Everything was in person before. So it was a huge transition. And I said, why don't I use this time to write a book about emotion? Because for me it's always coming back. All the training I did without noticing it was about emotion. And one evening I said to my husband, hey, you know what, I'm just going to write a book about emotion. Something at the time I didn't know it would be a self-help book, but I said, okay, something that I'm going to start. The starting point is going to be the grieving of my mother, but the book is not going to be about grief. It's about to be emotion in general, because emotion have something to say if we are ready to listen to them. And the very next day, I took the decision and I shared it with my husband. I did the breast checking, and the cyst was completely gone. And I was thinking, wow.
What?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I was thinking, oh, wow, that is so weird. So I checked 4 days in a row because I didn't believe it. And I think, oh, okay, it's when my project aligned with my body, my mind, my spirit. And it's how I knew that this book has to be written and that I would release it. Yeah. So this is my path. So I really believe that unprocessed emotion, they can be stuck in the body. And if we pay attention, we say that I felt it in my gut. I felt it in my heart. I have, we say also that we have tight shoulder and all that relate with stress. And if stress is a big word, it's overworking or over something. But stress is probably close to an emotion.
Mm.
So we cannot deal with it right now. So I'm going to tighten, to go through. I'm going to deal with that later. And then one day I cannot turn my hand. And again, and I do that as well. So sometimes we bypass. So we are just going to put something on the shoulder so they loosen. We go to the massage therapist. Says, but we didn't go to the root of the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem in the health system. Well, the majority of health systems is not going to the root cause, I think, from what I've seen, right? But
Yeah.
I actually can't, that is like almost a miracle to most people. What you just described, that cyst like disappearing from doing emotional work and not like conventional medicine. Like, that's crazy. That's insane. Like it just proves that, you have control with the body, sorry, the mind and well, your emotional state, right, has complete, almost, if we allow it to, if we believe it, complete control over the physical body.
Absolutely. Now, remember that the cyst was not a danger for me. It was what they called a fat cyst or something that was not with cancer.
Of course.
I really believe that do what you have to do with your health. So let's say you have a breast cancer. Do the protocols that your doctor is prescribing to you. In addition, try to explore your emotion. When did it happen? When did it start? What emotion, sorry, I accumulated and didn't process. And so this is the both work between the medicine we know today that is saving life and the addition of feeling whole. Not treating the body as a mechanic. When you drive your car and you have a little right light, you go to the garage and say, okay, yeah, there is a problem with my car, just fix it. But we have a tendency to do the same thing with the body. It should happen, just fix it. What is it? And again, I would say that accident happen in life. Maybe you fell, and so I would not say just every time you have a boo-boo, okay, just make yourself crazy about what did I think. I mean, just take the main concern that you have in your life, and so just explore it.
It's interesting you said that, because there also could be a connection between injury accidents that happen to you and injuries, and that I have a feeling that there is something emotional attached to that. If the same thing is happening, right? I remember my someone I know, a family, I think family member, and when they were young, they used to hurt themselves every time we saw them. And it wasn't particularly the same injury, but they're just very, very prone to hurting themselves and going, and crying. And we would be like, why does this always happen? Every time. And I suspect, that there's an emotional either lack or buildup of something, of energy that needs to be dealt with. But when you're a child, it's kind of it's more difficult, because you haven't been taught to convey your emotions to someone so they can help you, right? Because even when we're a child, we express our emotions, but we are subjected to the physical reality that we learn in the culturescape, right, where we're taught norms and things on how to process emotions. And you mentioned your parents, often our parents don't teach us how to manage our emotions correctly, in the way it's supposed to be. So Yeah, and I always like to bring it back to education because this a part of your role, it sounds like, is you want to try and teach this to people as early as possible so that they don't have to spend so many years. So what would you have to say about the importance of teaching this in early childhood, as an example?
That would be wonderful. I think also that particularly when we have children, we want them to be happy, but we are putting our own emotional burden to their shoulder. I would say that when you want to give the best to your children, work on yourself first so you can support your child. I remember when my children, they were very young and starting to babble, to say the words. One day I said a bad word, and it's very appropriate. One day I see my 2 years old dropping his toy, picking it up, and swear. I said, "Oh my God!" And I said to my mom, "Mom, what do I do?" And she said to me, "Well, stop swearing." And really, I started to be very aware of what I was saying. And so now, well, so I avoid the swearing. I don't say it's not happening time to time. But it was important. And that's the same thing with our emotion. If we hold on emotion and we are already saying nothing, it's what we teach to our children. So learn to process your own emotion. So when it happens, okay, I am very angry now, but I can say what I have to say in very quiet. I have a beautiful story about that. Many years ago, my youngest son was, how old was he? He was 5 years old. And I went to this conversation with a guru, yoga philosophy. It was wonderful. It was about the moment between action and reaction, between a thought, an emotion, and what we say. And that it's like a breath. You inhale, pause, exhale, pause. Usually the pause, we don't notice them, but they are there. So you inhale, this is moment of pause. It's a full moment of present moment. When we can elongate the pause, we can decide what we want to do. So an event happens, we inhale, we exhale, we pause, and we decide how we are to respond to the event. And so I listened to this conversation with the guru, and I said, "Oh my God, that is so great. I have to put that in action." So I started to observe myself. At this time, I had two children, 9 and 5 years old, and my husband was traveling a lot. So I was halfway kind of single mom. And so I was all over the place. And I was very angry very often. But I wanted to work on me because I understood that the stress I had, it was not the stress for my children to wear, to be burdened. And I didn't want that. And I remember one day, my youngest son, he came back from school as a preschool and said, "Mom, I'm so silly." "Yeah, okay, take a glass." And he took the glass and he broke it. And my first impulse was to turn around and say something that I was unhappy because I will have to clean, and then it was more mess and I didn't have time for that. And then I turned around and I saw my little guy and I look at him and say, "Henry, I'm sorry, can you go in your bedroom for 5 minutes so I can cool down?" I said, "Okay." So he ran. And I
love that.
I was breathing, deep inhalation, deep exhalation, deep inhalation. And say, he didn't make it in purpose. He's 5 years old. He slipped his hand, it broke. It was not mean. So he came back after 5 minutes. Mom, I'm thirsty. I said, okay, Henry, I'll give you a glass of water and I'm going to teach you how you can clean what you broke and so not to hurt yourself. And then we did that together and blah, blah, blah. And I was so grateful that I removed the stress, I removed the culpability, the shame or whatever, because it was not his to carry. He's responsible to broke the glass, he's responsible to clean up. But he's not has to feel shameful or whatever. So yeah, my advice to help the young children or teenager to deal with their emotion is, and it might not something we want to hear, but work on yourself first to help your children. And there is tools. When since I was introduced to such awareness with my children being young, I remember that when my youngest was, he has a kind of a very fiery temper and being angry quickly and should be that way. And one day he came home and was very all over the place. I said, okay, Henry, I can understand you are frustrated. There's nothing I can do about it. Don't you want to move this frustration? Take the pillow right there and really beat the pillow until you feel better. And so I see my little guy just, and after I say, okay, Henry, do you want to talk? Yes, Mom, I want to talk. He was just moving the energy of the emotion of frustration through his body. And then he was ready, open to process it. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing all this. It's
Yeah.
so insightful and also very refreshing to
Yeah.
hear. When you hear that, you're like, oh, that is the way, that's the way to do it. And also, you alluded to it with your two children, is like everyone has their own way of processing emotions. So, and that's so important to, I guess, know yourself so you know how to process yours, and then you can help others, right? And but they have to do the work too, right? They've got to work out, okay, I am a very physical person, and so I need to beat a pillow to let out my emotions. Or maybe you're more a soft person. Like I don't really, when I have that moment when, an emotion wells up inside you, I think I'm the person who just likes to, do what you did, just breathe and remove myself from the situation. And I don't have the urge to punch something, So it's more like a subtle, slow release of something peaceful. And that's fine,
Yeah. My oldest son was completely different. He was he's an introvert. So when I rarely saw anger in him, but I saw sadness. And so I was letting him be, digesting whatever he wanted to digest. And then I was offering an ear. Do you want to talk with me? And so it's where coaching is very interesting, because instead of telling your child what to do, you ask your child, how do you see that coming? What could you do? What would you like to do? What do you need to know? And then the child is processing on himself that, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to talk with my teacher and explain that it was the grade was unfair. Whatever,
Oh, you got the confidence, go for it.
Yeah, and I'm so surprised that my children show confidence at their age, where at this age I was not confident at all. And something also, as we just talked briefly about parenting and emotion, always remember that your experience is yours alone. The experience of your children, they are theirs. The way I lived an event when I was 12 years old is not the same experience that the 12 years old is living right now. And that is very important. I was bullied when I was 14 years old. It took me months and months to solve it, and I was miserable. My older son was bullied. He was 12, 13 years old, and we talked about it, and he stand up for himself. That, you know what, tomorrow I'm just going to talk to this guy. Okay. And he solved it. And I was in awe. I was like, oh my God, he didn't leave bullying the way I was feeling miserable for months. But my experience is my experience. Our children, they have their own experience. So we have a tendency to say, oh, I felt that way, so he should feel that way. Who knows?
Wow. Yeah, that's incredibly it's acting with the humility to know that everyone's experience is the same, and also the compassion to not let your experience repeat in them, and break that generational cycle that we talk about a lot, of generational trauma, and and taking responsibility for that for your children. So yeah, they're obviously very lucky to have you as a mum.
Oh, well, good thing.
It seems like.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, actually, I'd love to talk about, it's a good segue into the intersection of emotional processing, our emotional body, and also purpose, because something really that I've been thinking about recently is, and what you expressed in your in your journey, especially as a mother, is when your kids grew up and you sort of found yourself in a position of being there for them, and suddenly it's all kind of gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you found yourself in a position of kind of being lost, I think it was how you described it. Tell me a bit about how you've used emotional management, obviously connection with your body through yoga as well, to recalibrate your purpose in life.
Yes,
as a mother.
That was also an understanding of who we are, or who I am, and the role I had in my life. Being a wife, being a mother, being, I don't know, a yoga teacher, being a life coach, all that are roles. Something that I like to do doesn't define who I am. So when my children left for college, and then now they are all grown up, there is this time that, oh, I have all this free time with me. What I'm going to do with myself? And it's scary. It's just scary. So we can spiral. And again, it's always come back to the present moment. You find your purpose in the present moment, not in the life you had before, not in the life that you have to create in 3 days, but right here, right now. Being in the present moment helped me to understand that I enjoyed to be a mother. I enjoyed to be everything I did with my children. Now it's an evolution. I still have a wonderful relationship with my children. It's not the same that when they were under the same roof. And I think that managing our emotion really make peace with what we had so far, to create what we want for the future. And what do I want in the future? It's how I'm going to come back to feeling whole. Because if we always say, oh, well, it was so great with my children, we are home, so I meet them, I meet that they are every day at home telling me their story. This time is not going to be, it will not come back. I can wish it with all the cells in my body, it will not come back. And if I attach myself to this time, I cannot be the person I am. And so there is it's the mind spiral. And so we are sad, and we are afraid, and we don't know what to do with ourselves. And it's the syndrome of empty nester. It's a phase. As soon as we make peace with the reality and we focus on the present moment, what do I like to do right here, right now? What do I want to create? Do I want to go back to school? Do I want to have a promotion? Then we create it again. It might not be the easiest way and the fastest way, but if it's something you want, it becomes your purpose. So come back to the present moment, make peace with your emotion, grieve the life you had so far with your children at home. They're not gone forever. It's just a natural evolution of the relationship that you have with your children. And parenting, when you are responsible for your child when he's at home, and parenting when they are adults and they pay their bills and they create their career, it's not the same. I'm not going to say to my son, who is living alone for so many years, so you should do this or you should do that. He manages life the way he finds it fit. He needs an advice, I'm here. He needs an ear, I'm here. I'm not going to push it in one way or the other way. This is his life. It's not mine. Let's live my own life. Misery starts when we try to live the life of others, which is a challenge when your children are leaving the house. Because I spent so many years teaching them to eat well, to have a good sleep, to be aware of their health, that if they start to get a flu or whatever, then they have remedies, herbs and homeopathy, right? And when you see your child going to college, having junk food and not taking care of themselves, well, something is wrong in that. You have to let it go. You have to let it go. We did the best we could with all the love we have, and now we let them manage. And you know what is interesting is that sometimes I see what my children are eating. Okay, well, that's a bit scary. But at the end of the day, they still carry the knowledge I gave them. They want to use it or not, this is their responsibility. It's not my responsibility. Yeah. So as we make peace with all that, then we can focus on what we want. And we can find a new role, a new interest, a new purpose. And there is this, there is also this, how would say that, we have limiting belief. Well, you were a stay-at-home mom for 20 years. You didn't go to work. You cannot do anything. Life is over for you. How many people think that? Hey, I can tell you, it crossed my mind. It is true if I make it true. But if I decide to manage my emotion, I am angry that I don't know, I didn't go back to school when I was 40 years old, or I am sad because my children, they don't call me. So manage all your emotion and come back to the present moment. What is it that now I want to do with myself? And if you don't have ideas, try everything. Go to the gym with your friend, go to school, ask for a promotion, change job, try whatever is feeling right for you, and you will find it as soon as you make peace with your emotion.
Wow, I love that. Couldn't have said it better myself. Very eloquent. Yeah, it's making, I guess it's making peace with the past and knowing that you did everything you can in the context of the family, right? And now, you know, we as humans, we have more power than we can know, and we are the creators of our reality. I love that phrase, because it is true when you talk about this sort of thing on that we can learn how to process our own emotions. We don't need to rely on other people. We need to connect with people, but that doesn't mean rely. Dependence and, independence are different things, and they don't have to mean the same thing in the context of social, social activities with other people. So I love that.
It makes me think of when I was listening to you that, and it's what I learned with yoga, is that we are responsible of ourselves, of what we can control. If we start to wait from something outside of ourselves to be happy, it's a direct path toward misery and suffering. If my children are leaving the house to go to work or because they go to college, I am waiting them to call me to be happy. Well,
Whoa.
lucky you if they call you when you want. I had my children. I had one that if doesn't call, doesn't mean that it doesn't think of us and it doesn't love us. It doesn't call. So if I was waiting for him to call me to be happy, well, I would be miserable. Let it put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's important to realize that, as you mentioned earlier, you are the creator of your own life. Happiness is not coming from someone or some other outer world thing. It's coming from the inside.
You are the happiness that you seek.
Yes. So when we put all that together, again, it needs some work, but it's worth it. We're not waiting, when you have your job and you get retired, or if you are a stay-at-home mom and the children, then you are not here waiting for life pass by. Just enjoy it. Make yourself happy.
Absolutely. Really enjoyed this conversation, Sophie. It's been very, very eye-opening on the emotional side. And I think a lot of the guys listening to this episode can also, we've talked a lot about, mothers and families and obviously, you work with a lot of women as well. But I think the guys really need to listen to this sort of thing, because we as guys tend to very much close up and hold up emotions. And, to be masculine, we need to be a boy is to be masculine and is to not show emotion. So everyone, we all talk about that, but no one's really doing anything differently.
Yeah.
So
And again,
let this be a chance for everyone to start practicing. Yeah.
It's the pressure of the society. Oh, you are a man, you are strong and you don't cry and you don't have a strong emotion, everything is fine. I think that the conversation we had today, yes, I am working most with women, but there is a lot of men that emotion are emotion. They don't care emotion if you are a woman. If they have something to say to you, boom.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, for sure. And it can be very masculine to show someone that you can handle your emotions. It's just a different way of looking at it, right?
Yeah. Or if you are strong in your shoes and say, you know what, I am sad right here, and if I cry, it's going to help me to remove and process it. I'm going just to cry. Well, it doesn't remove any masculinity. I mean, it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Listen to that, guys. Have the courage to cry. Well, Sophie, I have some bonus wrap-up questions I love to ask my guests towards the end, if you've still got time.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, number one. What is your number one guilty pleasure?
Chocolate.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that.
And that's very interesting because I love chocolate. I am able to get rid of everything. And for a French girl, it's a lot to say cheese and bread. But I could live without chocolate. I don't want to. I'm very happy with chocolate, and it's a very emotional thing, chocolate.
Awesome. The book that changed your life.
Oh, there is a lot of books that really brought something more and more in my life, but the first one that come on my mind is Loving Life as It Is by Byron Katie. It's a book who explains the power of the mind over the emotion and the thought, and it's based on 4 questions. Is it true? Is it very true? How does it make you feel when you think that? Who would you be without that thought?
Mm.
And you apply those 4 questions in every time you have an experience that is troubling you.
Whoa, I have to look at that one. Sounds great.
Loving What Is by Byron Katie.
Loving What Is. Got it. We've talked about a lot of things in terms of life lessons, but if there was one that you had to put it down to so far, what is the biggest life lesson you've learned to date?
What I would say that emotion are messages. They are not something to be fixed, and they are not punishment. They have something to teach.
Beautiful. And where can our lovely, wholesome listeners follow you and reach out to you on your journey from now?
Okay, so with my full name, Sophie Malahieude, you will find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I have also a website. It's called ayuryogawithsophie.com. Ayur for Ayurveda. So ayuryogawithsophie.com.
Fantastic. I'll make sure to put those in the show notes in the episode description. So if you've really enjoyed this conversation today and you want to reach out to Sophie, please do. The links are down below. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Sophie, for reaching out and connecting. I've truly enjoyed this wholesome conversation with you. And looking forward to connecting in the future because it sounds like there's a lot to learn about the emotional side. So we'll probably need to do a second episode, I reckon.
Yeah, well, that would be lovely. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening today, and please don't forget to rate the show today. If you haven't already, share this episode with someone who needs to hear this sort of thing. And until next time, stay wholesome.